Hey everyone, welcome to today's video, and today I wanted us to go through NotebookLM. It's a video that I've been working on for a while. We both know, if you've been in the tech industry, it's moving very fast, and the AI industry is moving way faster than that. So for me to kind of like keep up to date with some of the things that AI is coming up with, I wanted to come up with a way that I can kind of like keep up to date with that, and I created a podcast. And in today's video, I want to show you how you can also create a podcast, and by showing you how to use NotebookLM. So I created a podcast called Before AGI Podcast, which is a podcast that is helping me come up with recent developments in AI. So the podcast comes out every day at 2 p.m. East African time, so look out for that every single day, and then we have like a weekly roundup of the recent AI news, and I want to show you can create one for yourself. So NotebookLM is by far my favorite AI product that we have right now. There are some that are coming out, like OpenAI's operator just came out, which is mind-blowing. So I just feel like I had to create this video, kind of show you that, so that I can create these other videos. So the first thing that we're going to do, just go to Google, go to NotebookLM, search for NotebookLM, and then it's going to take you to a page. I'm currently using Perplexity, but yeah, same thing. So once you're on NotebookLM, this is what it looks like. This is a site. These are what we call notebooks. Going to get that in a bit. So for you to create your own notebook, just come here and then click on create new. Once you click on that, just get rid of that for a minute. So we're going to have 3 sections. NotebookLM has 3 sections. The first section here is the sources, the second section is the chat, and the third section is the studio. So for the sources, this is where you're going to input your sources. Just click on add source, and then we are going to have a couple of options. So the first option is you can drop file. You can choose a file from your computer, so let's say like a PDF. You can put it here. Remember, the really cool thing with NotebookLM is that the file can be up to like 200,000 words. So there's no kind of like limit to that as well. Or you can click on create docs, just here, select docs, and then you can select the document that you have. It's a Google product, so it's going to be linked to your Google account. So you need to have a Google account, just saying. So click on that and then click on insert. So once you click on that source, it's going to put it here. It's going to add it here in the chat, so it's going to add there. So you can also click on another source. I wanted to show you that the source limit here is 50, so you can have very many different kind of sources. You can add Google Slides as well. You can create a website. I'm going to show you how to do that, or you can paste a document there. So that is for the first section. So the source that we added, our Google Docs, has already been uploaded. So this is the Before AGI Podcast Weekly News Roundup. This is what was in the document, so it kind of like comes up with a summary of it as well. So let me just click on add source and then show you how to add a website. Okay, so that's the sources. So the sources, you can click on it, add source, and then the second part here is the chat section. This is where you can chat with the AI. So let's say you can come here and be like, what are the biggest developments? What are the biggest developments? And let's click enter, and then it's going to go through the source and come up with an answer. The really cool thing with NotebookLM is that there is very little hallucination, in the sense that it's not going to make up new things, because it is only going to outsource from the documents that you fed it, or from the sources that you fed it. So you're not going to get any information from the internet or the web. It's going to only come up with a summary from the sources that you've given it. So let me come here. So it has given me an answer. These are like the biggest developments that we had in AI so far. So I'm creating a video for the next weekly roundup, which is going to be on Sunday. So I'm going to come here and then save to note, and it's going to be saved here as well. So once I click on that, it's the same thing more or less, just kind of like a summary of what's happened during that week. And then the really cool thing with this that I want to show you is that you can click and convert to source like that. which is really cool. So it's going to be added to part of your sources. So there is going to take into consideration this new information or this new content or strategy, or it's the way you've formatted your content. Okay, so that's the chat interface where you can chat with the AI. And then on the far right is where we have the studio interface. This is where you can, the audio overview. This is a really cool part where you can click on it and then it's going to give you a podcast, like customize a podcast for you. Or here under notes, you can add a study guide. So just click on that. NotebookLM is a study AI. I think it's going to be especially useful for people who are studying. I use it to study things, especially when it comes to AI. So you can do the same thing. So study guide, for example, click on that, and it kind of like gives you quizzes as well, and then also answers. So I find that really cool. That's just awesome, man. It's awesome. So this is something that you can still use, especially in your daily lives. If there's some research that you are going on, or there's some research that you're doing going on. I don't know what I'm saying. There's some research that you're doing, you can use NotebookLM. I think it's the best so far. It's better than ChatGPT for me. It's so helpful. This is going to revolutionize technology or this education for sure. So yeah, again, this is a study notes. I can click on that and convert that to source as well. Let's click on studio, go back. You also have a briefing doc. So a briefing doc is more or less like a summary of your sources as well. So click on that, and then FAQs is obviously the most questions that most people might ask. So that's also, it's always good to have that as well, especially if you're studying for something. And then the timeline is if you have a source, or for example, if I was researching the recent developments in AI. So for example, or just developments in AI, and then I come up with a bunch of sources, it's going to give me a timeline from like the 1960s, like the first person who came up with AI, up to recent times. So that's what the timeline is for. So you can click on that, and then it's going to come up with a timeline of your sources. So I find that really cool. So I usually just come and then add everything here. I convert it to a source. It's helpful. You don't have to do that. But yeah, so those are the three sections that we have when we come to NotebookLM. We have the sources, we have the chat, and then we have the studio. So next, I'm going to show you how now you can add sources. So in the sources panel here, I'm going to click on add source, and then like I said, we have Google Docs, we have Google Slides, we have like a website link, we have a YouTube link, and then we have a copy pasted text. The source limit is 50, so you can have different sources up to 50. And again, like I said, if it's a PDF form, it can be a book even, but as long as it's not like over 200,000 words, you're good. So again, it can really go through anything. This is by far the coolest AI that we have for me right now. So I want to show you how I create a podcast, so I can show you how to add sources. So I'm just going to come to Perplexity. It's what I use for research. It's more or less like Google. I really love it. It's very easy to use, and then it's very intuitive. So I'm just going to come here, and then I'm going to click on recent developments in AI. Recent development in AI. There we are. So I'm just going to click on that, and then it's going to come up with a summary. So this is why I love Perplexity. I've already done a video on it. You can check it up somewhere in my channel there. So this is more or less the summary that we have of the recent developments that have happened in AI, and I can come copy paste all of these. So there you have two options. You can either copy paste from there, or you can just come here and copy, and then come to your podcast, click on add source, and because this is a text, I'm going to come here to copy text and then paste it there. So it even comes with the citations, which yeah, they're necessary. So yeah, click on that and then click on insert. So it's going to insert that into your podcast as well, or into your research. And another source that we have, I've already showed you how to add that. So for example, if it's a website, I'm going to come to Perplexity here. For the ones that I searched, it usually gives the sources that it got that information from. So for example, here we have 8 sources. These are the sources that it has gotten this information from. So I'm going to click on a link here, and yeah, so these are the recent developments. Is a site, and I have to say that you have to be very aware that NotebookLM is just like any machine learning or any computer, garbage in, garbage out. The sources that you give it are incredibly important into your research. So just make sure that where you're getting the information from is a trusted source. So click on that and then come to NotebookLM, go to website, and then just add the website there and then click on insert. So it's going to pass through the entire website and come up with that information. And then, so that's how you add our website link. And then YouTube is very easy. So I'm just going to come to YouTube, click on that. And then once I'm in YouTube, I'm just going to look. Okay, so OpenAI has recently released an operator agent. So agents are going to be big this year. So I'm just going to click on that link there, and then come to YouTube, add YouTube link, and then click on insert. So it's going to insert that YouTube link, and sometimes it doesn't. This is actually good. There are times that it won't show. So anytime that you see this red icon, it means that that site or that website or that link has not really been inserted into your source material. So this has not worked. So I need to come up with another source, another YouTube link. So more or less just look for another YouTube link. So you need to get it from people, or again, so I like Nate. So I'm going to go to Nate. So Nate is someone that I really follow. So he has some news. So I'm going to click on, again, that link, and then come to podcast, add source, go to YouTube, paste the YouTube link there, and then click on insert. And it's going to pass that, and it should work, or not. So I'm just going to look for one that does work. So usually it does work. I think I know what's happening because I'm making a video. It's like, I'm going to talk today. Okay, cool. So once you've added that, you can now come and generate a podcast. But before we come to that, I wanted to show you, because I think now we've gone through all the sources. For you to generate now a podcast, you could just come here and click generate, and it's going to generate a very basic podcast. But the really cool thing that they added recently, like 2 months ago, is the customize option. So this means once you click on customize, it's going to customize the podcast for a specific audience. So you can have it to be for like teenagers, for example, if the content that you're creating or if the research that you're doing is geared towards teenagers, you want the podcast to be created towards them. So you can tell it to curate it for that. Or for example, if it's like a church thing, you can have it curated for that as well. It's really up to you to customize the podcast as much as you want. There is a character limit, which is 500. So you just keep that in mind. So for this one, I'm just going to click on. Okay, so I'm just going to add welcome listeners to the Before AGI podcast. So using the provided topics and sources, explain AI concepts tailored to our listeners. So that's my specific prompt that I'm going to use to create a podcast catered for the Before AGI audience. So I'm going to click on that and then just click on generate. This is a very short prompt. Again, like I said, it's 500 characters, so have that in mind. And just click on generate. Okay, so as that is generating, usually takes like 5 to 10 minutes or even less, depending on how long you want the podcast to be. It could be 30 minutes, could be 40 minutes, could be an hour, as you can customize it to be that specific time frame. So I wanted us to go like through real world case scenarios where you can actually use NotebookLM. So like I said, you can use it for research and academics. So for example, you can upload articles or even just lecture slides, and NotebookLM is going to generate guides and also outlines for you. And then content creation, which is kind of what I'm doing now. So if, for example, if you need a blog post or YouTube script, you can feed NotebookLM the relevant sources. Like for me, I use Perplexity.ai to get the sources, and then now it's going to summarize and then structure that for you. So once you have the structure of, let's say, the podcast, you can use that structure now to create a blog post from that using something like DeepSeek or even Notebook or like OpenAI's ChatGPT. So have that in mind as well. It really helps to like structure your content. And then the other thing is project management. So if you're juggling multiple projects, NotebookLM can summarize meetings, track milestones, and even generate project outlines, which is mind-blowingly cool. And then the favorite is obviously the podcast creation. So like, for example, I use NotebookLM to generate weekly podcast or even daily podcast, to be honest. So the daily podcasts come from me wanting to learn about AI. So I came up with different topics. I generated a couple of sources from each topic, and then I create a podcast, and then I uploaded, and it comes out every day at 2 p.m. on Spotify, Substack, and also YouTube. So that's where you can find it, which is really cool. You can do the same thing. And this is actually up to you. You can do the same thing for any topic that you want to learn. And I highly recommend that you do that. Yeah, so let's walking you through how I create a podcast. I research with Perplexity.ai. Again, like I said, I find it better when it comes to sources. It's way more helpful. It's very intuitive. You can chat with it as you're talking. Like Google, you can't really. I highly recommend you watch my video on Perplexity.ai, and you will switch to, it really changes how you search. So like I said, yeah, so I get that, create a content, ask for summaries, and then organize everything in notes. And that's, I just record and publish. That it's very easy. It's very intuitive. It will take you less than an hour to come up with a podcast on a specific thing. Yeah, so for the best practices and limitations, like it's very obvious. Like for example, when you're staying organized, so use separate notebooks. That's going to be very obvious for you. Like I said, the notebooks look like this. Let me see if I can. Oh, it's already finished. So it's already finished the podcast for this week. But yeah, let me go first for the notebooks. The notebooks look like this. So each is a notebook here. So it kind of does it for you, so you don't necessarily have to worry too much about it. But yeah, it's always good to have like kind of like your notebooks organized. The total number of notebooks you can have, I have seen, is 100. After that, you can have to like keep deleting to create new ones. So the maximum is 100 right now as we speak. Yeah, and it all goes to ask clear questions. So the more specific you are, the better the answer. And also double check the information that you're getting. As much as, like I said, NotebookLM is better than ChatGPT or any other LLM, in the sense that it's hard for you to hallucinate, because the information is only going to come from your source. It's not going to go to the web or anything like that. So some of the limitations that we have in NotebookLM, for example, with the Google Docs updates, it does not necessarily update itself. So every time I update the Google Docs, it's not going to be updated in NotebookLM. So you can have to keep updating it, which is it's work, but it's also okay. It's not that bad. You can chat with both the notes and also the sources simultaneously. It's not that big of a deal, but I've had some people complain about it. I just thought you should know. And then NotebookLM only knows what you upload. It couldn't fetch data from the web. So like I said, that's a good thing and also a bad thing. It's a good thing because it reduces the chance of it hallucinating, and it's also a bad thing because you don't get as much information or as much context as you will want. Okay, so I just want to show you what that looks like now with a podcast. I'm just going to play it here.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to Before AGI.
It's been a wild week for AI news.
Seriously, Ray.
Yeah.
Let's jump right in.
Sounds good.
Monday, OpenAI.
Yeah, so it's really good. So it's going to have 2 users that you can talk to, and I am going to go into the interactive mode. So for example, if you have a podcast that you've just created and then you click on play, and then it comes to a point where there's something that they've said that you don't really understand or you want more context, you can click on interactive mode, and it's going to pause the video, and you can talk to the 2 hosts, which is so cool, and they're going to respond to you in real time. So I find that absolutely cool. But I should mention though that when you download the podcast, which is here, click on these 3 dots, and then you can change the speed, download, or you can delete it. So you can download that podcast. When you download it and you had an interaction with the 2 hosts, your interaction will not be there, but it will put into context what you asked. So something to note.
These laws are like the rule book for how everything in the universe moves and interacts.
Okay.
Oh, hey, I think our listeners got something to say.
Can you explain the 3 laws of motion with a basketball example?
Sure, I can do that. Let's use a basketball. Imagine you're dribbling. Newton's first law. That ball keeps moving until you stop it.
So you can click on the 3 dots and just click download, and it's going to download that podcast for you. Or you can delete it and then generate another podcast as well. So that's something to always keep in mind. that, and then click generate. So that's NotebookLM for you. It's by far the coolest that we have so far. I'm going to create way more videos on it. I think this is one of the most groundbreaking AI products that we've gotten from Google. It's awesome. I highly recommend to continue playing with it. And yeah, so that's it for this video. I'm going to create another video on NotebookLM on how you can use it to create a podcast for your own business, which is really cool. Yeah, so thank you for coming. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.